we're missing something when it comes to these mind games, and it's been bugging me. And, you know, I've had a couple of comments on the previous video where people have said that they haven't seen Moses Itauma get niggled like this before. And I've got a theory that I want to share with you. And it goes back to his Slovakian background.
Imagine if you didn't come to Great Britain, imagine if you stay in Slovakia. No one would ever heard of you, man.
Give me some props.
I don't give you any props.
Hrgovic draws that parallel, doesn't he, about, you know, what would have happened if you'd have stayed in Slovakia and not come to the UK, playing on the fact that, you know, he's Croatian, they don't have the boxing machine that we have here in the UK, and putting a lot of the credit on the hype that we're seeing with this fight, on that distinction between those two paths. But I think that Hrgovic has hit a nerve when he talks about Slovakia. I've got a little bit of an insight into Slovakia because I'm married to a Slovakian. I've been married 25 years. And I've been over to Slovakia, as you can imagine, many, many times over the years. And I think that what's happened here is that, and this ties in with previous interviews where Moses has come back and said, you know nothing about me.
I don't think Hrgovic really knows my story.
You know nothing about me. And I don't think he's talking just about his boxing path. I think he's talking about his life experience. And if we look at that for a second and we break it down, what would life have been like for Moses Itauma and his family in Slovakia? Why did they move to the UK? You know, these are all personal matters that I think we need to be very careful about, you know, digging into and speculating on. But one thing that I think it is fair and reasonable to say is that, and this is from my experience of Slovakia, and I've got to be very careful here because, again, I'm not having a go at Slovakian people here, but my kids are half Slovakian. I love that country. I love the people. Now, I'm not going to pretend I know Moses Itauma's childhood or the experience he had personally, because I don't. Only Moses can speak on that. But I do know that, like many countries, Slovakia has had difficult conversations around racism and integration. Now, look, this could be the pot calling the kettle black. We're not perfect in England, are we? Let's be brutally honest. We've got work to do on that. But back to it, you know, when Hrgovic says, imagine if you stayed in Slovakia, it can carry more weight than he perhaps intends. And by the way, you know, I see Hrgovic as a completely honourable broker in all of this. I don't think he's trying to get under his skin on a personal level in this way. But so Moses may hear, you know, your life as being easy rather than partitioning that off from a boxing journey perspective. On the surface, Hrgovic may simply have been talking about boxing. And his argument seems to be that Moses came to Britain at a young age, you know, joined a boxing system with huge infrastructure, got spotted early because of his talent, and has been guided quickly towards the top. And to be fair, boxing is massive in the UK. I mean, it is absolutely huge. And I had a look on ChatGPT to see what it was like in Croatia, and it's tiny. I mean, they've got maybe a couple of dozen gyms, you know, 20, 30 gyms. Yeah, what have we got in the UK? We've got thousands, haven't we? My little boy goes to a little boxing club. We've probably got 6 or 7 in our town, which isn't particularly big. You know, when you look at that, that's what he's been talking about really, is the infrastructure, Hrgovic. He's not been talking about personal life experience here. But I think those comments may have landed differently when you're actually talking about somebody else's path. And this is where there's a little bit of lost in translation. You know, if you listen to Hrgovic, he's a Croatian guy, he's very articulate. But when somebody, a foreigner, is talking to a British guy, and their accent and the grammar and the phraseology, I think it's landed differently. And this is where I really think I've been trying to put my finger on why Moses Itauma has been niggled. I think he's hit a nerve when he starts bringing up Slovakia to Moses Itauma. I think he's had a tough time. But as I say, I don't want to speculate too much on that. But I think that is where that would be my take on why he's getting under his skin. How is this going to affect the fight? If this is an emotional trigger for Moses Itauma, Moses Itauma needs to wind his neck in here, because the last thing that he can afford to do going into this fight with Hrgovic is be emotional, is to have this attitude. We go back to what he said at the end of the face-off interview: I'm going to beat this guy. It's one thing to be confident that you're going to beat somebody, but if you're angry, that can backfire massively in a professional sport like boxing, where all Hrgovic is going to be looking for here is that opening, and that's what he's going to be looking for. So, guys, that's my theory on it. You let me know what you think. But I think there's something deeper here at play psychologically. It's not just about his boxing path. It's about his path in life that Hrgovic has managed to trigger in young Moses Itauma. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hope to see you on the next one. Bye-bye.